So we can be multifaceted. And I just want, again, our black and brown people, I'm very passionate about that, and embrace that. Embrace that you can do and face many different complicated issues. You don't have to run from it. Confront it and deal with it.
Confront and deal with it.
Yeah.
Let's go circle back around to again the Nashville too. What is the charge for the pastor, preacher, or to the Christian?
Yeah.
In this context, in this situation,
be engaged. Be engaged in community. Be engaged. Allow your voice to be represented and heard. And don't take rejection, setback as a defeat. Keep going. In the words of the late great Reverend Dr. Jesse Ray Robinson, keep a going. We have to have that perseverance. And look at the historicity of black and brown people. We are clothed in perseverance. Our historical narrative is nothing but perseverance. And so that stick-to-itness, we've got to embrace that. Get engaged. Again, most people that I talk to, they don't want to, that look like us, they don't want to serve on jury duty. They make a plethora of excuses why they can't. We've got to get engaged. They don't want to serve in politics or, on the county commission, city, all this. We got to get engaged, and we got to hold our leaders accountable. We got to love them. We got to support them and allow them to grow and nurture where they can be the voice of reason for our needs. And then we've got to be willing also to work well with others. So that's difficult. Like I said, it's many different issues, but we can handle that. We can deal with that.
I appreciate you saying being engaged as not only outside the church, but in the church. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
How do we deal with the stress of all of the successive microaggressions and things that we encounter on a daily or weekly, monthly basis as a black and brown person?
Right.
How do you handle the stressors?
That's a wonderful question. To thine own self be true. You got to know yourself. You've got to operate and function in purpose. You've got to know how to say no. I call it the holy no. My grandmother used to say, you can't burn the candles at both ends. And I understand what she means. You have to take care of self. And I thank you for really reminding me of that about a couple of years ago, with all the learning and schooling and experience we have. And yet sometimes we don't do that in which we have learned. And it took you to remind me, hey, self-care. And so we have to do that. It's okay to rest. It's okay to recover. And I think we need that. And then another facet to that, Orlando, is that you got to reach out. I've learned not to bear everything myself. To be transparent as the wounded healer, to show my wounds to my entrusted friends who I can say, hey, you know what, I'm struggling with this. What say ye? So exposing yourself, being honest, communicating the frustrations of life, the stresses of life, taking care of self, all of those things. Again, we're multifaceted beings. We can do that, but we've got to know our limit.
So, James, as a person who's engaged in both your family life,
yes,
and community, and with the church, how do you take care of you in the midst of being this multifaceted person?
Oh, wonderful question. I'm a work in progress. And having brothers such as yourself in my life that hold me accountable, that I can communicate to, that I can be extremely transparent, I can be my authentic self with. And that helps me ground myself. It helps me to rediscover myself. It helps me to learn myself, to challenge myself, to grow myself, to be again the best me that God has intended to be. So it's so multifaceted. It's getting rest. It's stealing away, having private time. It's doing some of the things that I enjoy doing in life, making time, being intentional. Has been enormous and extremely important in my life at this stage. When I was younger, I just kept going. But that is not beneficial. It's not fruitful. So just gleaning from everything that I've learned and learning to invite others in your life. As you were talking about earlier, relationships is vital. And that is part of my whole process of self-care and getting proper rest and to be able to do the things that God has called me to do.
Right. One thing, as we wrap up, as you were talking, I was thinking about post-crucifixion and Jesus coming in the midst of the disciples.
Okay.
Thomas being the doubter.
Right.
And he's saying, here, touch me.
Right.
Right. Feel me.
Right.
Know that I have these wounds.
Right.
Know that I'm, this human.
Right.
Know that, that I'm in relationship, have been in relationship with you.
Right.
And that I am in process.
Right.
And so what I'm thinking about is, again, this relationship, again, going back to community and relationship, that he invites the disciples on this relationship journey and invites them into this relationship of pain, suffering,
Right.
but also inviting them of the hope of the future.
Right.
Because he now is going to the Father with resurrection power.
Yeah.
And that he's now saying, okay, I want you to continue this journey, knowing that I've been wounded.
Right.
And that you may have some wounds also.
Absolutely.
But there is still hope for this future because of the power that I've been able to obtain after this event.
I know we're wrapping up, Pastor. You don't play fair. You don't fight fair. Because again, when you talk about that authentic message of Christ, who is showing himself to Thomas, I'm still in process, Thomas, but here you go. If you need additional evidence, if everything else that you haven't really persuaded you or you haven't arrived at your conclusion or whatever, wherever you are at in your process, here I am, so you can embrace it. And that's so powerful. You said this, suffering and challenges and all these things that Jesus went through and he exposes his disciples to, and to encourage them because he knows that they're going to have to go through the same thing, the suffering, the challenges, and all this kind of thing. And when I talk about authentic self, I think that's the authentic message of Christ. But that empowerment that we will overcome, however it looks like. And when you take yourself out the equation to allow God to be God in your life, and whatever path that looks like, to have the courage to walk it out and to live it out, that's the power of God. And that's what the resurrection means to me, because I think many of us, most Christians, Lord have mercy, we have a facade of what we think that our lives should be. But are we willing to live our lives as he has deemed? All things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are the called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
And when we live that authentic life, and it's our authentic self, as if we are Thomas, if we are Peter, if we are Matthew, whoever we are, but we accept the will. And that's what they did. They accepted God's will for their lives. And that is so powerful and impactful. And our community needs to get back to that place.
Right.
To live out his will. And then we'll start restoring our communities, healing this our community and the nation and the world.
Thank you, James.
Appreciate it, brother.
For the conversation.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right.
All right.